What's up, everybody? I'm Drew Kerr. This is 49ers Sports Talk. We have 5 days until vets report to training camp. We have 22 days until the Niners' very first preseason game. So I wanted to take some time and go through the entire NFC West pre-training camp and rank every single group, positional group in the NFC West, one position at a time. There are 5 groups on offense, 5 groups on defense. Let's jump into this. All right, everybody. So like I said, I broke this up into 5 positional groups: quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, and offensive line. So I'm going to start out with quarterbacks here, just kind of go team by team and give you my thoughts. I do think that I'm just going to say this right off the bat. Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in the NFC West. A lot of people try to argue it's Matthew Stafford. I disagree with that. Purdy can do a lot of things that Stafford can't do, and there's not many things that Stafford can do that Brock Purdy can't do. So he's a statue in the pocket. But since I'm doing this as a positional group, I'm going to go ahead and give the number 1 spot to the Rams, because they do have 2 quarterbacks that have played in Super Bowls. One of them won, one of them lost, obviously, with Jimmy G. He's going to be sitting out the first 2 games because he got caught juicing or whatever it was. And then Stetson Bennett, their draft pick a year or 2 ago, will be the 3rd quarterback. So I am going to give them that as a whole. And then moving on, just because Brock Purdy is the best in the entire division, I'm going to give that number 2 spot to the Niners. Josh Dobbs is a very smart quarterback. He's also very athletic. Some people think that Tanner Mordecai could unseat Brandon Allen in the preseason if he outperforms him and shows that he's capable of doing a lot of things that Dobbs and Purdy can do athletically. So there is that. Brandon Allen is a little bit less mobile, but he does know the offense. He's pretty versed. He's good in the quarterback's room. He has won games in the NFL as he was Joe Burrow's primary backup in Cincinnati. So there is that. So I'm going to go ahead and give them give the Niners the number 2 spot there. And then moving on, I think you kind of have to go with the Seahawks just because Kyler Murray is oft injured, Desmond Ridder as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the number 3 spot, and the Cardinals the number 4 spot. I do feel like Desmond Ridder probably will get some playing time this year, and that's assuming that Clayton Tune doesn't earn that quarterback 2 spot. But that quarterback room to every other quarterback room in this division seems like it's probably the weakest. So Rams 1, Niners 2, Seahawks 3, and Cardinals 4. All right, moving on to running backs. This one's going to be a little bit easier for me to justify giving the 49ers the number 1 spot. I just think their running back rooms are great. Kyle Shanahan's offense also certainly enhances those guys. I think that they definitely get the 1 spot there, so I'm going to go ahead and just jot that in. Now, number 2 is a little bit more tricky because I do like everybody's running back room in the division. I think that Kenneth Walker is a great running back. James Conner is always tough. And Kyron Williams really showed that he can do some things last year. They also added rookie Blake Corum, which I think has got Emmitt Smith type potential. Sean McVay has a very similar run game to Kyle Shanahan. I'm very torn here. I could go either way with the Seahawks or the Rams. I think that I'm going to go ahead and give the Seahawks the number 2 here and the Rams number 3. And even though I do like the Cardinals running back room, I think they got a phenomenal running back room. They got Trey Benson, DJ Dallas came over from Seattle, and then Michael Carter. I think they have a really good running back room as well. I think this is up for grabs. The 2 through 4 spots are up for grabs here, but I'm just going to go ahead and go this route for now. And anyway, let me know in the comments again if there's anything that you see different here with the Rams, Cardinals, and Seahawks. All right, and moving on to wide receivers, I think the Niners have really good depth here. They do have 2 rookies that are probably going to be on the 53 roster and likely the game day roster as well throughout the season, especially if Brandon Ayuk holds out or anything like that. We still don't know what's going on there, so it's kind of up in there, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that Brandon Ayuk's going to play for the 49ers and that he'll suit up week 1. If that's the case, the Niners for sure, their big 3 I think is better than all the other teams' big 3. You could argue for Cooper Kupp if he's healthy. Puka Nacua, Demarcus Robinson's a really good slot receiver. Tutu Atwell also very good slot receiver, and then 2 rookies there at the end of their list. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. I think is going to be a phenomenal wide receiver in the NFL, but I don't think that Michael Wilson or Zay Jones are very you can't depend on those guys. So not really sure about that. Dortch is a good little receiver there, and Pascal. So I think they got potential there. I think they need one more very, very good receiver to plug in there. Maybe slide Michael Wilson down into the slot. But I'm definitely going to lean number 1 for the Niners. Their number 2 is going to be a lot harder for me, but I do like their starters there in Los Angeles, so I'm going to go 2 there. And I'm going to probably give I think I'm going to give the Seahawks number 3 and the Cardinals number 4. Unfortunately, the Cardinals are kind of hitting the bottom, and I think they'll finish in last place, so it kind of just goes hand in hand with that. I just think that the other 3 teams are a lot more deep. The Seahawks have Jackson Smith. I can never enunciate his last name, so I'm not even going to attempt. And then they got D. Eskridge, Jake Bobo. I think Jake Bobo's a rookie. I forgot to mark him in orange. Everything marked in orange, these are all rookies. So I think that, that looks correct to me. I don't know, again, in the comments, guys, if you disagree. So we'll move on to the next position. All right, guys, tight ends. I just wanted to note that Jake Bobo is actually not a rookie, so correction there. And so moving on to tight ends, we have the best tight end in San Francisco. We have the best tight end in the entire NFL. It's not close. Travis Kelce can't block. There's a lot of things. And then in the division, Tyler Higbee, Tip Ryman's probably going to be the starter, maybe Trey McBride. And then Ryman as the second tight end, and then Noah Fant and Farrell Brown. I don't think that anybody's even remotely close to George Kittle in the division. So I think that this is an automatic one. I'm going to start sounding like a homer, but the Niners do probably have the best roster. I don't think there's much debate for that, and I think that this positional group is a lot stronger than anybody else in the division. I think that Braden Willis will take that tight end 2 spot. This is a kind of a bold prediction, maybe not too bold based on his, everybody was raving about him in OTAs, granted no pads and things like that. So when the pads go on, we'll see. Logan Thomas is an established veteran. He's more of a receiving tight end. So, and then Saubert, I think, is going to be the 4th guy. He can block. He can do the things that, like Charlie Warner did and things like that. So I think that from top to bottom, Niners, number 1. Going to go ahead and plug that in. Now, number 2 is going to be very tricky. I think that you have Higbee, you have Parkinson. I do like the combo that Seattle has of Noah Fant and Farrell Brown. Also, A.J. Barner. So I think that Seattle probably gets number 2 here. And then just because Arizona doesn't have, we don't know what Ryman's going to be. I think he's going to be really, really good. But I'm not going to, without having any data or any film, I can't just make that prediction. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Rams number 3. And then I'm going to obviously plug in the Cardinals number 4. I'm not trying to do you guys dirty, Cardinals fans, if you're watching this. I just think that this is how it shakes out. And maybe you'll have a positional group somewhere else. Maybe on defense, maybe not. Maybe special teams when we get to that. But for right now, I think that this is pretty accurate. I don't think you can really dispute. Some people might dispute number 1 and 2, but how can you dispute George Kittle being at the top of that positional group? Anyway, thoughts on that too, guys? Would love to hear them. Drop a comment. and we'll move on to the next positional group. And the final positional group for offense is going to be offensive linemen. I don't think that the 49ers actually have the best positional group here. I think that they have issues on the interior, primarily at right guard and center. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug the Rams in at number 1 right here. I think that they have the best exterior offensive line, and I think that they have a really good interior. They upgraded with Jonah Jackson. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and give the Rams number 1. I'm going to go ahead and move over to the Seahawks, and they did address their weaknesses on the inside with Christian Haynes, who might be the best guard in this entire draft class. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug them in at 2. I'm going to give the Niners 3, even though I think the Cardinals have a case for 3 here. Jonah Williams, pretty good. Paris Johnson on the outside, good tackles. But similarly to the Niners, their interior is a little bit weak. So I think that, Will Hernandez has been solid. He's had a solid career. He started with the Giants, but going to go ahead and plug the Cardinals in at number 4 again here. That's debatable. The Niners could actually have the worst offensive line in the entire NFC West. It's up for debate, but I don't think that, I don't think they're definitely not number 1. I think the Rams own that. And so, yeah, again, if you have any thoughts on this, every positional group, I'm just gonna say it because maybe it'll trigger you right now and you'd be like, you're dead wrong, you're flat out wrong, this is this and this is that. And I don't mind having a conversation about it in the comment section. So let me know what you think, and we'll move on to defense. All right, moving on over to the defensive side of the ball. We're going to go ahead and start out with edge rushers here. As much as I would love to put the 49ers as number 1 here, they do have Nick Bosa. He's arguably top 3, top 4 pass rusher in the entire NFL. When he's not getting doubled and held, he could be number 1. So I'm definitely not going to put the Rams. They've got a bunch of rookies that they're going to have starting this year. I never give rookies credit until they prove something, until I see them play. Rookies bust all the time, so I think they're going to be good players, but I'm not going to put stock in it until I have some data on it. Seattle, a little bit left to be desired on the edge for the edge rushers, for the pass rushers. So I'm going to go ahead, surprisingly, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give the Cardinals, even though they do have a rookie, and I just got done saying, I don't think that rookies deserve any credit until they earn it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give the Cardinals number 1 here. I'm going to go ahead and probably give the Niners number 2, just because they have, established players. Leonard Floyd, the biggest question with Leonard Floyd is, can he last throughout an entire season, giving the same amount of production consistently week in and week out for 18 weeks? He's a little bit older. He's an older player. And the only way that's going to happen is if the Niners rotation can keep him fresh throughout the season. So that means you have to count on Drake Jackson. You have to count on Robert Beal. YGM, we don't know what we're getting with him yet. He's going to have to adapt to a brand new defense. He did pretty good with the Panthers, so we'll see how he integrates into this, but we won't know until we know. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the Niners at 2, and then I'm going to put the Seahawks at 3. They do have some decent pass rushers, but leave a lot on the plate, leave a lot left to be desired. So, and obviously the Rams got a bunch of rookies, so I'm going to go ahead and put them at 4. They could totally change my mind by week 4 if they just come out of the gates and they look like blue chippers and they're, getting sacks left and right, but I'm not going to count on that, especially along the defensive line. There's so much technique and so many things that are different in the NFL from college. Those guys at Florida State, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, they look great, but that's college. That's not the pros, and there's a adaptation to the NFL, and sometimes with defensive line it takes a long time. Moving on to the interior of the trenches, we have the defensive tackle positions, and again, not going to give the Niners number one position here just because I think there's some questions about the rush defense. Obviously Hargrave struggled last year. Collins and Elliott both did not get great grades against the rush. So maybe with this new scheme that they're going to be in, maybe their skill set's a little bit better suited to that, and Kevin Givens as well. Not going to give them number one. I'm going to go over here to Seattle, and I'm going to go ahead and give them number one. I think Jerron Reed. They do have Byron Murphy. I forgot to mark him as a rookie. Again, rookies, I'm not going to count on it, but I think he is probably the best defensive tackle in this draft class coming from Texas. And then Jonathan Hankins, established, and Leonard Williams. So I think their interior, very, very good. Going to go ahead and plug them in at number one. And moving over to the interior of I'm going to give the Rams number two. And I'm going to give the Niners number three. I think they're going to have some great pass rushing from this group. So they can move up. They can prove me wrong. They can move up. And I think that, if they can prove that they could stop the run, Hargrave has been working diligently at his technique on rush defense. So we'll see if that translates. But he is long in the tooth in his career. And so if he hasn't done it up to now, I'm not sure if we can count on him doing it this season. Obviously the backers behind these guys are going to have their work cut out if they can't adapt to the rush and be solid and sound in that. So I'm not really too sure there, and I'm going to go ahead and give the Cardinals number four. Those guys just don't scream like elite or good, maybe average at best, and I think they're the worst in the division. And linebackers. This is an easy one for me. This is a very, very easy one for me. I think that the Niners have the best linebackers in the entire NFL from top to bottom. I mean, all these guys I think are going to be very, very good in the NFL. Yeah, the ones that haven't had a lot of experience. Speaking of like D. Winters and Bethune, and even you could throw Jalen Graham in there. He might be a practice squad guy. Not sure if they keep Curtis Robinson, but he does bring special team value and veteran presence, and in a pinch, if there's any more injuries, I think he's solid depth. Might not even make the team, might not make the cut. But for now, we have him in there. I'm going to go ahead and just put this in really quick. One, I think the rest of the division is up for grabs here. There could be an argument for Seattle and the Rams at this number two spot. I think I'm just going to go ahead and just plug the Cardinals in at four, because I don't think that they have a very good linebacking core. Kazir White's pretty good, not great, and I think he's above average, but the rest of them just leave a lot to be desired. I do want to probably give number two to, I think I'm going to go with the Rams here. I think those four guys are just better than the Seahawks four guys, so I'm going to go ahead and give them three. Going to plug that in. Dodson, Baker, Drake Thomas. There could be an argument between actually the Cardinals and the Seahawks. The Seahawks could have maybe the worst linebacking core in the division, but I do think that their new head coach, Mike Macdonald's going to have these guys playing better than what they are. So that's why I'm giving them that 3 spot over the Cardinals. Again, Niners number 1, and I think there's a big gap in between the rest of the division at this position group. All right, the next position group is going to be safeties. I am going to be a little bit of a homer here because this is very close to me. It's probably between Seattle and the Niners for the best position group for safety, but I do like that the 2 bottom safeties for the 49ers have very good special teams value. George Odom is one of the best special teamers in the entire NFL. Malik Mustafa is going to be a dog. I think I really have a feeling about this guy. He played that Panther position at Wake Forest. I think that Staley and Sorensen are going to move this guy around when he's on the field. And if Hufanga comes back to all-pro level, I don't expect that right away, but maybe by mid-season, maybe even before that, we start to see flashes of Hufanga and his playmaking ability and him looking like the second coming of Troy Polamalu. Jair Brown had a phenomenal rookie season. I think he's going to expand on that in 2024. So for me, Niners number 1. And so that will default Seattle to number 2. Julian Love's solid. Rayshon Jenkins is a little bit older. He kind of plays a little bit slower now than he did maybe, say, 2-3 years ago. But he's very instinctual. He knows the game, so you have to give him credit there. Kobe Bryant's getting moved back to safety. He'll probably play a little bit of nickel here and there, and so I'm going to go ahead and plug them in at 2. And then Budda Baker, one of the most underrated safeties in the entire NFL. And, Jalen Thompson is a solid plug-in there, so I'm going to go ahead and give the Cardinals. I'm going to give Arizona the 3 spot, and I think that this is probably the Rams' weakest spot. They did draft a safety. He might move into one of those spots, but I think 1 Niners, 2 Seattle, 3 the Cardinals, and 4 the Los Angeles Rams. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you see this the same way. All right, and finally, the last position group is going to be cornerbacks, and this is also a very, very, very tight race between the Niners and the Seahawks. I think this is the best secondary that Kyle Shanahan will have had in his tenure in San Francisco. That said, I think that Mike McDonald's going to unlock these guys in Seattle. I think they were already very good, so to me, I think that the Seahawks have the best secondary. The Niners could unseat them for that spot if they show out and show up. So, but for now, training camp version, I am going to go with Seattle here. I am going to go ahead and plug the Niners in at number 2. And then, so the battle between 3 and 4 is between the Rams and the Cardinals. I think that the Cardinals have a lot of potential, but they have a lot of rookies. So, you know how I feel about rookies, as I mentioned earlier. Not going to plug them in until they prove it. So I think that I'm going to go the Rams here. They just have a little bit more veteran experience. I think they're going to be a little bit more sound on the perimeter with the cornerbacks. And so Rams 3 and the Cardinals 4. And that rounds out the defense, guys. Again, Ward rated number 3 by PFF in the entire NFL. So out of this entire group of cornerbacks, I think Ward's probably the best player. You could argue Reek Woolen or Devin Witherspoon could contend for that spot as best cornerback in the division. But they added Yiadom. He's going to have to expand on what he did with the Saints. Lenore is an absolute dog. We know that. But I think those 3 are going to start the season as the starters, unless Renardo Green just shows up and shows out and he's like the next Deion Sanders. I think he's got a little bit of problems with grabbing people, so hopefully he doesn't get flagged early in the preseason. Otherwise, he might go in the doghouse right away. And then I've got Rock Ya-Sin as a veteran, another veteran that could add special teams value, and Darrell Luter Jr., who made a big mistake in the Super Bowl. I'm not sure if the Niners are going to hold a grudge on him for that, but he is a solid corner. I think he's going to get better this season as a cornerback. So let me know, guys. Let me know if you agree with that, and we will move on to the last position group of special teams. All right, here we are at the end, and we are going to go ahead and look at the special teams. We're going to look at punters, kickers, and returners. I figure those guys are the ones that matter the most on special teams. There's obviously going to be a lot more players on special teams. This new kickoff rule is going to be very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the league adapts to this. It's more of like that XFL style kick. I did a live with CG Ruthless on Tuesday. Go ahead and go check that out. We talked about the new kickoff rule. Pulled up a video kind of explaining how it's going to go. And so with that in mind, we are going to consider the even long snappers here. We're going to consider the kick returners, though, especially on kick return. Going to need a guy to have hands, speed, size. It's going to kind of be sort of like a running back play, but you're going to need a guy to be able to grab that ball that's going to maybe be bouncing around after they kick it into the zone. That being said, we'll jump in here and look at the punters. I think that the Niners have a really good punter. Seattle probably has the best punter in the entire division. Place kickers, we had the rookie Moody last year, made some big kicks in the Super Bowl, missed some big kicks at certain times. Obviously, the Browns game, he missed that one and we lost. It would have been a walk-off. And the Rams have a rookie. Jason Myers is probably, it's up between Matt Prater and Jason Myers in terms of best place kicker, I think, in the entire division. The long snappers, I don't really know much about, so they're kind of just there as they're there. Anyway, and then returners, I took this off of ourlads.com. These are the people that they had plugged in there. I'm not sure if Isaac Guerrero or JP Mason is going to, one of those two guys may or may not be on the team, but I think Isaac Guerrero has better hands. So for that reason, got him in at kick return. For some reason, they had JP Mason as the punt returner. That for sure is not going to happen. It's either going to be like a guy like Cowing or Pearsall, or maybe, maybe Trent Taylor if he's on the game day roster. Returner, they've got Kyron Williams, running back for the Rams. I'm not sure that they're gonna have their starting running back there, so maybe Blake Corum or somebody like that is doing the returner here. This isn't set in stone. This is kind of just a preliminary. This is, again, just training camp. I think a lot of this is going to change a lot, contingent on how these kicks look in the preseason. And I can't wait 22 days from now, maybe even earlier than that. That's when the Niners play, but I think there might be a preseason game before that, the Hall of Fame game, right around the corner, guys. So for me, this is going to be a little bit more difficult ranking. So this is a little bit arbitrary, and I'm sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and plug the Niners in at 1. I think the Rams have probably the best weapons. They've got like Robinson and Tutu Atwell. They got a lot of guys that they can plug in there. So I'm going to go 2, and then I'm probably going to go ahead and give the Seahawks 3, just because their kicker and punter are really good. But again, special teams there's a lot of guys that I didn't list here. We're probably going to see how this shakes out, like even at the 30 or 35, I forget what it is, that they line up on the opposing team's sideline. We're going to see whether or not they go with like tight ends and linebackers and things like that. So just putting that out there. And then so the Cardinals, number 4, and that rounds it out, guys. And so again, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about every single positional group. And as always, faithful, thank you guys for watching. Thanks to all the subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. If you like this content, give the video a thumbs up. Also, that helps with the algorithm and helps me get found. So appreciate you guys. Also, leave a comment and let me know what I got right and what I got wrong. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourself.